Good afternoon. My name is Vipul Jani. I am the Executive Director for Canada-India Foundation, your host for today's discussion. Welcome to the third lecture in CIF speaker series. Today's lecture is very important considering what is going on around us, globally, in Canada, and in Ontario in particular of late. All of us know Tarek Bhai as a writer, as a columnist, as a talk show host, as a broadcaster, activist, and more. Tarek Bhai, you wear so many hats. Hats off to you. When I called Tarek Bhai a couple of months ago to meet and discuss about this lecture, I thought he will give me the time, say a few weeks later, maybe a few months later. Considering how busy and how in demand he is, both in Canada and in India. To my surprise, when I called him, the only question he asked me is, "Kal kya kar rahe ho?" So I called up CIF chair Ajit Someshwar, and I said, "Boss, we have to go there tomorrow." Luckily, he was also available. Usually, he is also very tough to find, a very busy guy. Anyway, we went there again thinking that we'll be there for maybe half an hour, 1 hour. But once he started speaking, we just couldn't move for almost 5 hours, if I am right. That was one of the most fascinating conversations I had in a long time. So thank you for that, Tarek Bhai. He will be formally introduced in a couple of minutes. So I am just going to talk briefly about CIF. Canada-India Foundation, as many of you already know, is a national not-for-profit public policy organization, and we are just 10 years old and recently celebrated our 10th anniversary in June, where we recognized Baba Ramdev with Global Indian Award, CIF Global Indian Award, and committed $50,000 towards charitable causes. Last month, CIF also organized a very successful golf tournament where we raised another $40,000 for some more charitable causes. $20,000 will go to the families of fallen soldiers in India and $20,000 for families of fallen soldiers in Canada. There are a few more events lined up after this lecture. We will be participating at the India Day festival in downtown Toronto on August 20. And please do visit our booth there. We'll be there all day. On September 8, we are celebrating another event called Celebrating Democracies and Inclusiveness at Pearson Convention Center. It's a free event and with lots of entertainment, recognition for community leaders, speeches from prominent personalities, and more. So I hope to see you all there as well. Broadly, in short, CIF promotes Canada-India bilateral relations and works towards creating a positive and mutually beneficial policy framework. We also encourage and support deserving Indo-Canadians in the political processes of Canada. So if you are interested or if you know someone who is passionate about Canada, about India, about bilateral relations, then please get in touch with us. We'll be happy to discuss it further with you. Because as you know, elections are just about a year away in Ontario. So we are definitely looking for passionate people. With this, I would like to thank you all for coming here today. And I would now like to introduce our CIF National Convener, Mr. Anil Shah, who will say a few words and also introduce Mr. Tarek Fateh. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Lots of smiling faces I see. Tarek Bhai, welcome. Thank you for being here for us. Tarek Fateh, as they say, sirf naam hi kafi hai. Everybody knows you as a writer, a columnist, broadcaster, and an activist. What is most incredible about him that is completely fearless and calls spade a spade. And Tarek bhai, you are a great inspiration to me. I try and do the same. And I did say there's some certain things on 26th of June which were called spade a spade, as we call it. Be it an extremism, Sharia law, Balochistan, Islamophobia versus Islamophacism. That's the word first time comparison I heard from you. Fierce criticism of Pakistan, Bill M103, or something else. We can always count upon Tarek bhai to stand up and speak up. Jailed, banned, fighting with dictators, fighting cancer. Nothing can conquer the spirit of this 68-year-old young man. TV talks, radio talk shows, running for political office, Fateh ka fatwa on Z News, Aapki Adalat on India TV, Arnab Goswami's show, where Tarek bhai was the only time he couldn't speak much. Toronto Sun, News Talk 1010. Tarek bhai, you've always been all over the place. Such a commitment. No wonder he's one of the most well-known and most sought-after speaker in India and Canada here. Mr. Tarek Fateh today, well, he's going to talk whatever he wants to, but our request was to talk about Ghazwa-e-Hind versus the ethos of Hindustan. Tarek bhai, you've enriched Canada for the last 30 years with your passion, knowledge, and activism. Canada-India Foundation is thrilled to have you here for our Speaker Series lecture. And we are happy to host you tonight. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's lecture. Our plan tonight is that after I speak, I would like our chair, Ajit, to come and say a few words. And after that, Tarek bhai will give his keynote. We'll have a small ceremony after that speech. And then there would be question answers. During the Q&A session, I'll appreciate and request everyone and anyone who has a question to raise the hand, and we will try and moderate the question answers in a more organized and disciplined way. I also request for people not to have a follow-up question which will allow more number of people to ask the right questions at the right time. Before I invite you to speak, Tarek bhai, I'm going to ask Ajit, our chair, to say a few words. Thank you, Ajit.
Thank you, Anil. Once again, I reiterate the feeling that Vipul just mentioned, that the visit to Tarek's house was a memorable one. We thought it was going to be half an hour, but it turned out to be a 5-hour non-stop, and we had to literally force ourselves to get out of there. Otherwise, we could have stayed for another couple of hours drinking another bunch of tea or so. But it's phenomenal. The amount of wisdom, the amount of knowledge, and the way he puts it across, right, makes it extremely difficult for you to have any other opinion but the opinion stated by him. In fact, it comes to a point where right now, some of us are trying to figure out, what is this secularism all about? You know, when you question the pandering of the majority to a particular minority, right, isn't that secular? But then you're viewed as somebody who is not in the secular frame. You are viewed as your right wing, but Tarek is a left winger. So how the hell does this happen? So in a country like Canada, right, where the minorities are being pandered to in the name of the multicultural mosaic that we talk about, right, to question it is not to be Canadian. And that I cannot understand. And I think keeping this in mind, right, Tarek Bhai, you should deliver your lecture, because I know that this is happening in India too. So I request you now to come on stage, right, and take over the audience.
Bhaiyo aur behno, namaskar. Nobody wished me my wedding anniversary date today. 41 years और कोई भी नहीं देखी. Anyway.
Forget after 30.
ना, not me. गुजराती से शादी है मेरी.
तो फिर आप हमारे जमाए हो गए.
अरे पूरा अहमदाबाद का जमाए में. Thank you very much for coming here. Let me assure you that it takes some courage to come here, because as you well know, this event was to take place in Ryerson University, a university that claims to produce some of the finest journalists. That includes my daughter as well, by the way, but has in a very unfortunate manner joined the thousands of academic institutions and academics who, for lack of a better word, I call Sharia Bolsheviks. These are people who do not have to study economics to understand what is it to, say, fight poverty, or to understand Venezuela, why an oil-rich country is going to dogs, or discuss, to have no anything. They just have to be pandering to the lowest common denominator in an era of mediocrity, to sound as if they're academically very strong. And they're never usually in academics in the areas of science or technology. Unfortunately for Ryerson, it took a very prominent engineer, who is now the president, from Algeria to stand by the decision of shutting down a university to hear the truth. After all, what can a 68-year-old man fighting cancer, not able to move around, what threat would I pose to them? Except that this is an acknowledgement that what is happening in the world, particularly in India, because that's the test tube case, and which has its effects unfolding in Canada as well, that when we talk about those notions, somebody thought it wise and was scared to not allow any conversation to take place. Perhaps if we had talked about how samosas have contributed to the richness of Canada, half a dozen ministers would have come, and most of them would have worn saris, and some would have sat with hijabs in the corner waiting to be called to sit at the back of the bus. Our premier is very good at that. But we were going to talk about Ghazwa-e-Hind. Now, do you think Black Lives Matter or Antifa or the other left-wing groups that do not want this to understand what's Ghazwa-e-Hind? I mean, people of Hind don't know what is Ghazwa-e-Hind. The only people who seem to know what is Ghazwa-e-Hind are primarily the people of Pakistan, right? And so someone, somewhere, who's a professor of journalism from your community teaching at Ryerson, knows it better. And I wouldn't be surprised at who pulled it off, that we can't let this happen. Because, you know, Ryerson is the same place where Jewish students were told that they cannot go for internship in Jewish social community groups to do their work. Because, you know, Hanud and Yehud, which neither the Hanud nor the Yehud know what it means, but it is the Muslim appellation, the curse, the four-letter word to describe the jointness of the Hindus and the Jews. Nobody in India knows that. All you guys know is how to get a good GMAT score to go to the best university so you could be rich. Well, get rich, your enemies want to get poor and die, and you've never heard of a lawyer and a Dawood Ibrahim type guy, a lawyer ever winning. It's the gangster who wins. And that is why this talk was not permitted. Because most of us who are Muslims of Indian background, most of us, every one of us is aware of what's happening. And it is a bizarre form of patriotism to the community that forces us to be 10 years as vice president of a country, and then the day you're asked to leave, you said, "Badi buri halat hai Musalmanon ki." Sharam nahi aati. Bade begairat log hain. I mean, if he had been 10 years as a chaprasi and then fired, I could have understand Mr. Ansari saying, "Yaar, badi buri halat hai. 10 saal chaprasi kaam kiya, mujhe promote nahi kiya, head clerk." This guy is vice president. His grandfather's brother led the Khilafat movement for the re-establishment of the caliphate in Turkey. Ab aapko nahi pata hoga because most of you are studying engineering and how to get rich fast in India. But we who are Muslims whose destiny is to die, we take one flight. We have only one flight. You guys go and come back so many times. You have the luxury, I don't. So I have to gather everything I have and look up Mr. Ansari, where a whole lot of people in India are upset that I said, "Why don't you go to Pakistan to retire? Half your family lives there." Sahi nahi? Have you ever heard of a Hindu family whose half family lives in Pakistan? No. Can you imagine some Sikh going around, "Yaar, main jaake zara mil ke aaun, meri adhi family Lahore vich baithi hai." Ek nahi chhadya. Not one is left. And then you get a whole lot of fake left-wing people who come together. 20 of them have written in The Guardian saying, "You know, this happened on both sides. We've got to get over with it." It's terrible. Guardian didn't ask a single historian to talk about this. They took 20 fiction writers. The guy's profession is to lie. And the left said, "Where do we get the truth? We got 20 liars. Let's collect them." One among them, a prime example of the bullshit that goes on in left-wing circles is Benazir Bhutto's niece, Fatima Bhutto. Oh, she even has affairs in Hollywood. So she says, I love the days when we played with the bricks of Mohenjo-daro. That means she's never been there. Because the Nodero, which is the family home of the Bhuttos, is about 30 miles north of Mohenjo-daro. Larkana. But Mohenjo-daro, you don't have bricks. It's an archaeological, preserved UN heritage site. Nobody plays with bricks. Tusi bricks se khedna, tusi jao. Any brick in anywhere where you dump married couples and Christians, you throw them and bake them in Pakistan. That's where you go to play bricks. But you write in The Guardian that as a kid, I used to play with bricks. You never touched sand. You come from the royal families that exploit poor people in the name of Islam and land. You have the same pappus in India as well who wrote the same nonsense. Oh, I wish we would just get together. Get together. You're the one who left Lahore and abandoned it. What person says, I think my entire heritage is going to dogs, but if I leave it, the onions will be cheap. That's what India is. Don't laugh at that. You should be crying. You left Lahore, abandoned every one of the Muslims that fought with the Congress and said, don't worry about it. And when those Sardars and Hindu families of Layya and Muzaffarganj and Multan and Rawalpindi ended up in Delhi, they find there too there are Muslims. Divided families is a term. Even someone as smart as Salman Rushdie says, you know, it divided families. You should read that column. Part of my family stayed in India, part of them moved to Pakistan. I want to meet one Hindu family that says, part of us stayed in Pakistan and part of us moved to India. Not one. Not a single Sikh was left alive in Lahore. Not one. And the shameless people, the pseudo-intellectuals of India, who are today doing that Aman Ki Asha Tamasha, the destroyed politicians of India who have fallen and succumbed to the ISI machinations done by the Mata Hairis of today. We know many of them today going through murder cases whose careers have been destroyed by the Pakistan ISI in this Aman Ki Asha Tamasha promoted by Times of India or who not. Does anyone know that the word Asha cannot be used in Pakistan? That Aman and Shanti are cursed words? Not because Muslims think so, but because the very people who created Pakistan, who live in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar and Madhya Pradesh and Bombay, and the Ansaris and the Sayyids and the Rizvis and the Lucknowis, who created the amputation of India, they are the ones who run Pakistan. You think the Punjabis of Lahore, Muslims, were against Hindus or Sikhs? It is not in the ethos of the Punjabi to be driven by that. We have far too serious things like humor, jokes and abusive language to share with each other than to be worried about that nahi yaar aisa khana nahi khana Hindu hai. That's the problem in UP or Gujarat. Punjab didn't have this problem. What did they cut? Just Punjab. Nothing else. No Andhra was cut, no Assam was divided. Bengal came back to its roots, and today Indians hate Bangladeshis because they're dark skinned, for no other reason. There's no other reason. You love Pakistanis because they are fair skinned, and you hate Bangladeshis because they're pro India. And you say, यार ये स्विट्जरलैंड होता प्रो इंडिया तो बात थी, बांग्लादेश का क्या करना है? Fair and lovely, it's about $2 billion a year is not spent on nothing. I've never known any Indian who's visited Dhaka ever or Chittagong, but he has firm views. सारा ममता जी का प्रॉब्लम बांग्लादेशियों का. अरे, you created the idiot, you elected her. Jyoti Basu was not ours. You ruined Bengal, and then you blame it on Bangladeshi guys who are coming there anyway. If they don't come, the Nepalese will come. Nepalese don't come, the Bhutanese will come. If they don't come, Myanmar will come. India is India. People come to India no matter what. They've been doing it for 7,000 years. ये हिंदुस्तान है, कोई ये इजिप्ट है, अरेबिया है कि यहाँ से लोग बाहर निकलेंगे? So, Ryerson didn't want this conversation to be taped, recorded on their premises. And I'm glad that you guys didn't give in, because there are always repercussions to standing up to the bully. From my analysis, the Indo-Canadian is a naive and a far innocent person to understand his or her enemy either in India or in Canada. You have about a dozen members of parliament from Indo-Canadian background. Almost all of them are anti-India. That's amazing. Yeah, nobody could have asked for anything better. जो इलेक्ट होता है वह उसकी जाली डिग्री होती है या वो खालिस्तानी होता है या उसने झूठ बोला होता है और ही स्पिटिंग आउट चेरी सीड्स like this is your contribution because the best amongst you have thought that making money is the issue, and even when you donate to the politicians they end up voting 1984 genocide day. How could you allow that to happen? The most civilized place on earth is Bharat. Right? Not because you or me are from there, but because the creation of the universe made sure that we were not in the northern or the southern zones, that the ice age didn't destroy us, that it would come every 26,000 years and ruin the northern hemisphere of Europe, whereas India, Tibet and this region flourished for hundreds of thousands of years. The origin of mankind, the birthplace of language. Sanskrit's words are in every language, but no language's words are in Sanskrit. But if you went to any academic place and said, I'm going to take a few classes in Sanskrit, that other guy will look to his friend, yaar, ye to sangi lagta hai mujhe. And then the same guy goes to another place, I'm taking an initial course in Persian. Oh, really? Wow, you must be a big intellectual. This is the nature of India today after 1,000 years of putting up with barbaric invasions and economically destructive colonialism. The former were worse, but they stayed back and the wealth stayed back. The latter was civilized, but they took everything out of Calcutta, Dhaka, Delhi, Mumbai, the south, from Goa to what we call Chennai today, and ripped us to a degree that we today, from 30% of the world's GDP, we got reduced to 2%. जिस इन्वेजन्स की वजह से कमर टूटी हिंदुस्तान की, they scored a knockout punch in 1947. And the very nature of the Indian or the Hindu or the Hindustani who did not believe that he came from somewhere to conquer this place. There are two types of Indians. The ones who say we came on horseback, like with Temur, and they name their sons Temur. Some name their sons Tarek, like me, but I can always escape saying it is from Sanskrit word Tarak, from where it went to Arabic as Tarek as the early morning star, or Sitara, or Tara. एंड में सब संस्कृत में जाके बैठेंगे, लेकिन तैमूर संस्कृत नहीं है, ना अब्दाली है, ना तुगलक है, ना बाबर है, ना औरंगजेब है. टीपू सुल्तान हमारा अपना बेईमान है. होते ना फैमिली में, देयर इज ऑलवेज, ही इज आवर प्रॉब्लम. These other guys cannot be tolerated because they were invaders and marauders and rapists. And as long as that is not acknowledged by the Hindustani Muslim, that is the only thing I demand. You cannot have reconciliation. You will have bleed to death. And Abul Kalam Azad will tell Muhammad Ali Jinnah, क्यों बनाते हो अलग? हमारी 33% से 25% हो जाएगी. The difference between the Muslim nationalist bacon eating, whiskey sucking, pig blowing, child kidnapping, statutory rapist Muhammad Ali Jinnah and the masjid going Abul Kalam Azad is that they both had a view that the is not clean. They both believed in the essence of Sharia law, that is, that a Muslim can never live under a non-Muslim Raj, Darul Harb. Okay? One said we'll create a state from where we will destroy India as a launching pad, and the other said that we need to stay together and destroy them from within. Nobody can deny these facts, it's written in Islamic law. The only people who can stand up to this are the ones who reject Sharia. If you accept Hadith and Sharia, you believe in Ghazwa Hind. If you believe in Ghazwa Hind, you are the enemy of India. You could have been the president of India and you could be Abdul Salam, apna, kya naam hai, हाँ नहीं जो प्रेसिडेंट थे हमारे हाँ कलाम साहब because he is an Indian, because he says despite me being a Muslim I am first an Indian, in fact first a Tamil. ये बाकी के जो लोग हैं जो कह रहे सैयद है हम पंजाबी भी नहीं है ये all of Pakistan's Punjab that speaks Urdu with a very bad accent, it's entertaining to watch them on television. You know they can't speak English or Punjabi or Urdu. They are fluent in no language because they have an identity crisis. How could someone in Lahore say my mother tongue is Urdu and that is why I hate India? What? Which American during the Cold War would say, I love Russia and I want to speak Russian. I don't know a word about it. I'll speak it very bad and that is why I'm anti-Russia. People will say कि यार ये इसको welfare society से बोलो psychiatric examination कराए बीमार हो गया. This is the condition of our Pakistan army. This is the condition of all of Pakistan's Punjabi Muslims who essentially had no problem with India, Hindus or Hindustani or Sikh, but became victims of the people you kept behind who made Pakistan in UP and CP and Bihar and Calcutta and then cut it up into two pieces and sent half the family to both sides. वो बैठे में हमारे लखनऊ के पैदा हुए हुए इंतजार हुसैन ज़ैदी साहब. I took him back to India the first time. I said, go, see, this is where you were kidnapped and dumped into Sindh and banned the Sindhi language. The point then becomes, what exactly is Ghazwa Hind? And that, my friends, I found that no non-Muslim in India has a clue. I asked even apne General Atta Sahab se, who's got one of the finest Indians I've ever met, passionate fellow, an Indian nationalist par excellence. Where do you bring this thing up? It is so, who believes in it? Maka General Sahab, you don't know Pakistanis. You are simpletons in India. This is the raison d'etre of Pakistan. The Islamic State was born not in Syria and Iraq. It was born in Sindh and Punjab. And people simply said, chalo, कट गया तो कट गया, अब क्या करेंगे, गेहूं तो वहां से ले लेंगे ना. The trader in the Hindu community dominated because all your Kshatriyas had died. उनका तो हमने 800 साल में सफाया कर दिया ना. You were left with the Maratha infantry that would go in 10 weeks, it could reach Bengal, hit and come back. But the essence of power still remained in the hands of the Ashrafia top grade, A grade Muslim, like Calgary beef, you know, wo high grade ka hota hai. I learnt about the categories of Muslims when I first went to India. I didn't even know that there were 5 categories of Muslims. And one guy came and said, हम लोग पठान होते हैं, हम नहीं सैयद होते हैं, हम पठानों में शादी नहीं करते. I said, कौन है पठान इधर? You think Irfan Pathan is a Pathan? You, Ghaffar Khan is a Pathan. खान होते हैं, वो होते हैं पठान. ये जिनका नून साइलेंट होता है ना, खां साहब, they are not. ये आपके बिहारी होते हैं. अब हबीब खान साहब भी है ना, आपके नए मिनिस्टर आए हम, जिन जय श्री राम कहकर मर गए, वो उन पे फतवा लग गया. बताइए ना. So Indians are naive because your education system told you to live with the guilt of not being able to understand what happened to you. You didn't get independence on August 15th, 1947. You got amputation. No people on earth can accept that as a status quo or as the end game. China had to fight 800 years to get the Mongols out, right? The Arabs had to wait 600 years to kick the Turks out. We had to wait 200 years to get the Brits out. How can we rest in peace if Lahore and Sindh, Punjab and Sindh, are under the occupation of the Nawabs of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and the Wajid Ali Khan's concubines' sons, who came all the way from Calcutta to Karachi to impose Urdu on a people who didn't speak that language? You cannot. And if you cannot do that, then you end up with a place where all the Pandits of Kashmir can be kicked out and thrown out from their birthplace as indigenous citizens, and the rest of India says, really, who are these guys? My Pandit doesn't look like him. They didn't even know who are Pandits. India-Pakistan's wars did not have any effect in Kerala, because in the miracle that is India, which is a federation of states and languages and colors and noise, from the auto to the aircraft, I mean, it's an amazing place, God's gift on earth. It's been left with guilt when it is the victim of 1,000 years of occupation. You don't have to be hateful to be truthful. You simply have to accept the truth, because that is your motto. क्या है सत्य? जी. जिस सिविलाइजेशन का ये मोटो है, वो कहता है अच्छा 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 यार, ये सच तो छोड़ो ना, काम की बात करो, धंधे की बात करो. Your enemy says, I want to kill and die and take a few with me. And that didn't start by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. That started when Babur built the Babri Mosque. If there are Muslims in India who do not support the slogan ke Mandir wahi banega, then they have not recognized that an Uzbek came, took land that was not his. He had no right to build a mosque anywhere. Unless we Muslims believe that जिसकी क्या लाठी उसका समथिंग, हाँ उसकी भैंस, तो पूरे इंडिया को भैंस बना दी, लाठी लेके आ गए, बोला साडा ही साडा है. And you keep marrying Hindu women and Rajput princesses and all them. Thank God for that, because as the Mughal dynasties got more and more Hinduized, they become more and more sensible. सीधी बात है, आपके फैमिली में 3-4 हिंदू डाल दें, वो बैठे कोई ना कोई जिक्र तो वेदास का आ ही जाएगा ना. बुरे से बुरा हिंदू भी जो है, उसको कुछ तो पता है कि चलो योगा डे कर लिया साल में, आज कर्जा उतार दिया. ये तो खिलजी comes and says कि ये इतनी बड़ी लाइब्रेरी, what the hell is this in Nalanda? He says this is 400,000 books. 400,000? The same book? Then he said there are 400,000 books. Why do they need 400,000? I've got the one. जला दिए. क्या किया नालंदा वालों ने? उन्होंने कहा चलो तिब्बत चलते. लड़ने वाले मरते गए. Thank God for Sikhism, which is an extension of Hinduism and became the front arrow, जिसको बोलते हैं, जो जाके, which gave aggression a reply in aggression. And Ranjit Singh is the only one who took the battle to enemy lines. उसने काबुल में जाके जूते मारे, है नहीं? And he wasn't anti-Muslim. His generals were Muslims, his wives were Muslim. He respected, because Punjab was a Muslim majority place. और बड़े मज़ेदार किस्म के मुसलमान हैं सर. वी डोंट हैव दीज तकबीर अल्लाह अकबर वाले. हम नाराए तकबीर कहते हैं, उसके अंदर भी हुक्का शुक्का पी लेते हैं, उससे सिख नाराज़ हो जाते हैं. लेकिन it was a good coming together. And during that reign, there was no harassment of either Hindus or Muslims under Ranjit Singh. नानक के अपने कमालात और हैं, but they were all born in Punjab and they destroyed it. The invasions from Afghanistan stopped only after Kabul was taken. And the people that Pakistanis respect most is the person who's the only guy who burnt Lahore. That's Abdali. Abdali. In Lahore, the only civilized, glorious city of India, which could never say which one is in a majority, he burnt the city alive. Today's Urduized Punjabis in bad English and bad Punjabi say, "Oh, Abdali, sada banda ji." They have no clue. So, Ghazwa Hind, coming back to it, you have to understand this. Any Muslim who claims to believe in the Hadith, which is the quotations of Prophet Muhammad, which, by the way, were written after. Okay, let me give you an outline of how messed up things are. The Quran, as we know, is not the way it was revealed. The Arabs never knew what a book was before, even during the life of the Prophet. When Muhammad died, there was no book called the Quran. It was oral, and parts of it were written on skin and bones and parchment. By the time the ability came to put it in one book form, two of the caliphs had died in the process. The first wars of apostasy had been run. The family of the Prophet was already being hunted here and there. Ali would be murdered while he was praying. Hussein had relatives, a sister-in-law in Punjab, an Iranian princess married to the rulers there, the Dats, the Hussaini Brahmins, who were trying to rescue him. All this is happening in the first 100 years. As soon as the Umayyads, the first dynasty of Islam, takes place in Damascus, the man running it is the worst enemy of Prophet Muhammad, who converts to Islam barely a day before Mecca falls to Muhammad, Abu Sufyan. His son takes over, they never go back to Mecca. Nobody ever went back to Mecca. Well, the air conditioning ठीक नहीं है. There's no running water. Over in Damascus, you get princesses who take showers every day from Zoroastrian Persia and Greek Orthodox Damascus. Who's going to give them up to go back to a place where nobody takes a shower? There is no water, there's no stream, there's no agriculture, there's no cow, there's no sheep, there's nothing there. In that context, the first dynasty is a diversion from Islam. That's the dynasty that writes out the Islamic law, the Sharia. It's in that 100 years, and then they get butchered, all of them. 1,000 of the royal family gets butchered after being invited by the Abbasides, the new rulers, a general called Abu Musa, and some Indian connections there as well. wiped out. These guys bring a new Islam. Now when they look at the laws, they say, well, how do we know this is the law? Says Prophet Muhammad said that. Where is the book about what Prophet said? No problem, we'll write it. So backdated entries for the Sharia to be established, these guys another 100 years write down what Prophet Muhammad said to, you know what you do in accounting sometimes. कुछ बैकडेटेड होता है, कोई डबल एंट्री नहीं फॉलो करता है, कोई 2 नंबर का काम. ये 2 नंबर के काम में they wrote down what Prophet Muhammad might have said to justify the law that they'd already accepted. Another 100 years go by. And these fellows say, too many Persians, they always cause a problem. Uzbeks and all these Bukharis and these people, none of the Arabs did anything. These Arabic names you hear are Uzbeks, Indians, Persians, Berbers and Turks. You समझ लें, double-storied building was never ever built in Arabia till Aramco came. I'm serious. इसीलिए कहते हैं ना कि गेज को सजा देनी है तो उसको छत से फेंको. तो मैं बोले छत से फेंको ठीक है, तो मड हट की जो छत होती है इसमें फेंक दो. तुमने तो कभी बनाया नहीं बिल्डिंग 5 स्टोरी 3 स्टोरी की भी. 1 स्टोरी के घर के बाद नहीं बनता है, तो उसे कोटे पे लेके जाओ, फेंक दो, भाग जाएगा. ये 10वीं स्टोरी से फेंकना तो अन-इस्लामिक हो गया ना फिर. But I am digressing, sorry. So they write the biography of the Prophet in the 8th and 9th century. And that biography, which is the most extensive and readable part of Islamic literature, then becomes more authoritative than the Quran. Because you can draw from that and prove the Sharia that's written. And the Quran, because you change the order of how it was revealed, cannot be read and understood by anyone. And the moment says, Maulana Sahab, samajh mein nahi aata, bolo tu to kafir ho. That's the evidence that you are a bad man. वो बोलता नहीं सर समझ में आ गया, माई बाप सब समझ में आ गया, जान छोड़ो मेरी, मदरसे में कहाँ फंस गया हूँ, वो निकल जाता है. इसीलिए अल्लामा इकबाल, मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना, ये सब लोग जितने थे इनमें से किसी को आज तक कुरान का पता ही नहीं है. इस पूरे शहर में किसी को कुरान का नहीं पता. There is few Indians, and that's why they were shocked on my show. And I said, but the first words of the Quran say, read. Read and write in the name of the Lord who created you from a clot. It's incredible words. You took that at the back. Oh, guach gaya, main ki karan. Where is it? The last words of the Quran are phenomenal. The Quran says, today I have completed your faith for you. Nothing more to come. I have perfected your religion for you. What did we do? Everything in the Sharia is written after the Quran said, I have completed it. मजा नहीं आया यार, कुछ और लिख दो. सर 2 शेर और सुना दें आप. मगर मैं इतना ही लेके ना sir. It's equivalent to that. And then Islam comes to India. They mix it up. कहते इधर मजा आता है. I mean, who's going to go back to falafel after eating chutney? Can you imagine? You getting biryani, you getting nihari, you getting karela, gosh and all that. Everywhere you are top gun. And then the Arab who came to the streets of Karachi and Bombay saying, I'm Sayyid, give me some money. You started following him. Instead of the Arab wearing the dupatta, the Bangladeshi woman is wearing a hijab under a sari. Hijab de utte hijab pa rahi hai. I mean, so what has happened is that the greatest 100 years of Islam were from 1850 to 1950. Unfortunately for us. Modern Islam. All the golden period of Islam that was based on Hindu mathematics, I call them Hindu without apology, including the numbering of every Quran in every mosque, in every home across the world. The numbering is the Hindu numbering. Except that the Hindus don't know. उनको पता ही नहीं तो बोला ठीक है यार लो लेते जाओ हमसे. You tell that to a Muslim, how will he react? Can you imagine मुल्ला मदनी साहब को जाके बोले साहब आपके कुरान में तो हिंदू के लफ्ज लिखे हुए, आप कह रहे कि ये नमाज क्यों उसकी पढ़ा दी? हाउ इज ही गोइंग टू रिएक्ट? बट हु इज गोइंग टू टेल हिम दैट? No, तो मैंने कहा no. People have said, Kabir has said much more. And Indians don't realize Kabir was a Muslim. Kabir, the word is Arabic. Kabir means big. Bulleh Shah did enough hammering, shook them up. That is why even though he was a Sayyid, they wouldn't like to bury him as a Muslim. Right, sir? ठीक कह रहे हैं? हाँ, कसूर था. केश के शहर का. They told him he's not Muslim. His body was there. किसी इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश के अंदर किसी बच्चे का नाम बुल्ले नहीं है. The greatest Muslim of all times in our era is, nobody wants to name, Kabir. कबीर बेदी है, बाकी किसी का नाम कबीर, एक पाकिस्तानी का नाम कबीर नहीं है. How is that possible? कि लाहौर का दारा शिको would not have, एक है शायद दारा पहलवान था हमारा, शायद दारा सिंह, वो भी सिंह निकला ना एंड में. किसी मुसलमान का ना ही दारा नहीं. हाउ इज दैट पॉसिबल? नो, मतलब कि these were people who were not part of one nation. The Punjabi Muslim had nothing to do with the Kerala guy. In Balochistan, which was almost independent of the rest of India, the Muslims even branched off into a new religion called the Zikris. ठीक है sir? Oh, they were smart guys because they were children of African slaves sold into India by the Arabs. They said Hajj waj pe nahi jana humko. They took a mountain and they said we'll do Hajj, circulate around this place. गलत तो नहीं कह रहा हूँ सर? तुर्बत में. They are the Zikris. We have some of them here. Tipu Sultan and these guys come from the same lineage of the Baloch. That is why I say they were crooks, but they were our crooks. Aurangzeb was the invaders' crooks. So I have always some affection for our own family members who are bad. But unless Ghazwa-e-Hind is attacked frontal to say to India's Muslim leadership and in Canada, I'll come to why there are a number of people who are saying, why do you bring your problems back home to Canada? Well, you brought us over here. That's why Metcalfe was from Lahore, but I live off Metcalfe Street here. The same guys from East India Company would then come and settle down over here. The point is, if you cannot understand this and challenge the Indian Muslim leadership without anti-Muslim attitude, you cannot fight hate with hate. You have to fight hate with truth. The point is, how can you accept, how can we as Hindus or Sikhs or Buddhists or Zoroastrians accept you as equal Indians if your goal is to destroy us? Because Ghazwa-e-Hind is a hadith, a saying of the Prophet written by people who said that the Prophet told me. Ghazwa is a war that is led by Prophet Muhammad. A battle in which Muhammad did not lead cannot be called Ghazwa. Prophet Muhammad is supposed to have said that the people who engage in the decimation and destruction of Hindustan will go direct to paradise. Because these are the last of the idol worshippers. And Yom-e-Qayamat, the end of times concept, which is biblical, Judaic in some nature, will not happen till one army of the Muslims will attack Rome, which is Europe, and another will attack India and convert the population to annihilation or acceptance of Islam. That's Ghazwa-e-Hind. Now, if you believe in this, you cannot be an equal Indian citizen. That's what I'm saying. If you don't believe in it, you need to condemn it because it exists in your hadith. That's the challenge that people like Javed Akhtar or Asif Sahab, who's a Communist Party guy, there are many Muslims who are sensible in India, but who are caught up in that team spirit. My community, like Manchester United fans, yaar ab sabke samne to nahi aisi baat karo na. My position is that we are naked in the middle of town square. Everybody can see us. The time to hide is gone. You killed tens of thousands of fellow Muslims to prove that you are right. The main victims of jihad are Muslims. Aurangzeb's victims were Sikhs, of course, but it was his father, his brother, the Shias of Anaconda, and the destruction of his own son's army. It was all there. It is Aurangzeb who said that every Shia has to die. And that is why Aurangzeb is so loved by people, so-called secular Muslims, who say, you shouldn't have changed the road. If there's ever, I told my daughter, if I'm not incinerated, which I wish to, and if I'm buried, please write Tarek Fateh, who got Aurangzeb road changed to Dr. Salam. And the reaction to this was ferocious, but they couldn't say it. वो एक नहीं उर्दू में कहते हैं गम गुस्से की लहर दौड़ गई एकदम, हमें गुस्सा आ गया एकदम, कैसे कह दिया आपने, शेर शायरी करने. That's the only thing they do. When caught in a corner, revert to the शेर. Because you can get away with it. The Ghalib ne kaha, maine thodi kaha. Now you're safe. Can you imagine someone in Tamil coming around and when the argument runs out, he says something in Tamil or Malayalam or a Punjabi? Can you imagine a Punjabi or a Gujarati saying, "Ek minute ha, tame ki ek chapat padegi wala baat kar rahe tumse. What bullshit are you talking about?" Now that is what is the defense of the Ashrafia Muslim of India. He reverts to Urdu, then he curses you, then he tells you your daughter is having children out of wedlock with a Jew and on television and gets away with it. Or he issues a fatwa on TV that you'll slit off my neck or send Chota Shakil's gundas to get arrested, or even ISIS. 4 groups of Muslim gangs had to be identified as to who is who would wanted to kill me. But at that time I didn't know. They just said, stay in the hotel. Now, who in India is going to talk about this? None. If they can't talk about this in India, which is a democracy, do you think they'll talk about this in Saudi Arabia?
Swami.
No, but he's not a Muslim. I'm saying a Muslim has to take this up. That is why I keep saying the M103 movement was destroyed by its opponents and strengthened for Iqra Khalid by its opponents, not by its supporters. You entrenched M103 forever by using hate to fight. You need truth to fight. You come with the facts and say Ghazwa-e-Hind is an extension of Islamo-fascism, which is Islamism is different from Islam. That in Islam, all that I'm required to do is believe in oneness of God, or Tawheed jise kehte, once a year fast, pray daily, and give the wealth tax, which nobody does. 2.5% आपके assets पे, it's a big amount, कोई नहीं देता. That's Islam. Islamism is to use your community and your belief in a political way to establish your supremacy over the rest of mankind. So it is equivalent to what Nazism is. German supremacy can be believed by people, but in an organized political sense, where it says its victims have to be all the Jews that inhabit earth, because they are Christ killers. That is a problem, whether it is for Canada or whether it is for India. And if the government of Canada cannot learn from the people of India who have gone through this for 1,000 years, then in Punjabi we have a term which cannot be translated, which says fitemo. You're unworthy. Then go do your bodybuilding and kayaking and falling over and picking up girls on gay pride parade who are naked, hold them in your arm, and next day come to a hijabi group of girls and start praying Allahu Akbar. That's what you elected, right? Now, if you have a dozen Indo-Canadians in that group, what do? You cannot do this unless you are a political force that demands secularism and the complete separation of religion and state from the school to parliament, which does not take away the European and Aboriginal nature of the state of Canada. Just like the Jewish nature of the state of Israel has to be recognized before you talk in peace, or the Hindu nature of Indian civilization has to be acknowledged, whether you're Zoroastrian, Sikh, Muslim, Hindu, whatever you would choose to be. But you cannot take away 7,000 years of our civilization and say, well, we've come with Windows 3.1 and therefore DOS is gone. No. This is here to stay for all times to come, because we gave the world Sanskrit and we gave the world tolerance, which meant we never invaded a single country in all 7,000 years of our existence. Right? जब हमने आपका कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ा, तो आप कहां से आ गए हमारे ऊपर रूल करने के लिए? हमारी शराफत तो ये है कि नेहरू's ब्लंडर in 1962 हम उसको भी माफ कर देते हैं. But somebody took advantage of the common decency of the Hindu ethos of India. So I'm not saying because some of you are Hindu or some of you are Muslim. I'm saying these are the facts. You don't go to Sindh and say that I have come here to invade as a 17-year-old Muhammad bin Qasim, and then turn around and say, Ahmad Khidr is 17-year-old, so he's a child. Because for Ahmad Khidr, Muhammad bin Qasim is his hero. We need to be truthful as to how we deal with facts. And India is getting a raw deal because the Muslim community over there, its leadership, has a veto power over all legislation. It has unfortunately given rise to a Hindu nationalism, which is reflected in the harassment of cow traders and all that. It has, in fact, more damage is being done to India today by those who have a genuine fear of being second-class citizens just because they are practicing Hindus. That fear is genuine. The reaction to it is self-destructive. And there's a tremendous lack of leadership. I mean, I wouldn't have voted for Mr. Modi, but I can tell you one thing, you guys are damn lucky he is there. Because he is handling the current China-India crisis in a mature, multifaceted way that he and Sushma could teach a lesson to Nehru Chacha and tell him this is how you deal with it. And Pakistan is continuing to bleed India on the Western Front. And Bangladesh, which could have been an ally of India, because of the nonsense that is there on social media, the hatred created against Bangladeshi refugees and Bangladeshi refugees. What the hell? India is a place for refugees. People to be refugees. You can't stop it. God made the land like a peninsula going out into the sea. Jisko aana aata hai, jisko jana jaye. Lekin you should demand one thing. जो आएगा वो हमारे घर का फर्नीचर नहीं चेंज करेगा. You come to my living room and tell me, Mr. Fateh, the furniture is not good. I will not sit over here. Acha? Okay, out. Budarwala. It's very simple how you do this. The Zoroastrians came. They said, we don't like this place. We want the fire over here. Hindu Raja said, "Theek hai yaar. Give them the place." It happened. The Muslims came to Kerala and the king gave them his own land to build the first mosque of Islam before Mecca. It's Cochin ke paas hai na wo masjid. Not a single Indian Muslim leader has ever prayed over there.